best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I had my mic muted.
You did.
I had an epic show intro all planned out. I launched into it and then realized I had my mic muted. We're off to a really bad start here on Locked In on this Monday. We will rebound. We will recover. Lose the battle, win the war, as they say. Next play mentality. That's what we're here for. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton here with you in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. And if you want to chime in throughout the show, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. This hour of the show brought to you by our good friends at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. They've got a fantastic sales environment out there, friendly, helpful staff, great prices, discounted services like half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So many reasons to head out to El Reno and check out Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. A ton to discuss on this Monday installment of Locked In because I spent all of yesterday down in Dallas at the Under Armour Next Camp at Melissa High School, and it was absolutely loaded with OU offers and priority targets in both the 2026 and 2027 recruiting classes. So we will dive into that. Our poll question on YouTube is an interesting one. I wanted to throw this out there. Are you of the opinion that OU is recruiting the state of Oklahoma too much, not enough, or adequately? The question is, how many in-state players should OU sign per cycle? 0 to 3, 3 to 5, or 6 or more? You look back at the last couple of years in the state of Oklahoma, the Sooners signed 4 players from within state lines in the 2023 class, 5 in 2024, and 6 in 2025. So that number is going up. It also obviously warrants mentioning that Oklahoma doesn't get all of the in-state players they recruit. Look back at Zadavian Sims in 2024, Nate Roberts in the class of 2025 as prominent examples of guys that OU wanted but didn't get. But generally, do you think Oklahoma has too much of a focus on their own state, not enough of a focus, or you think they're doing it the right way as it is? Because I know some people that look back at that 2000 championship team, Grayson, they're like, Okies all over that roster. If you're going to win another title, you're going to find dudes that are going to take it to the next level for the University of Oklahoma because it means something more to them than recruit your own state more heavily. Then there are those who will take quite the opposite approach and say, yeah, state of Oklahoma doesn't have elite talent. Go build a roster with guys from Texas and Georgia and Florida and California. Then we're talking. So we'll have varying opinions. I expect that they will be expressed on the text line and in the YouTube chat. But here's where I want to start, sir. Couple new offers went out yesterday, and they are notable ones because I think these are both guys that could wind up in Oklahoma's class. The Sooners tossed a long-awaited offer to Rogers, Arkansas native Braxton Lindsey. I believe we have mentioned him on these airwaves before. Very versatile football player, about 6'3", 220 pounds, highly athletic. Holds upwards of 20 FBS offers already. Oklahoma is the latest. And I really like the Sooners here, Grayson. He's visited campus on 3 occasions previously, working on setting up another couple of visits later in the year. I'd expect him to, OV obviously would expect him on campus later this spring. So you have that. And then you have Nico Jandro from Hamilton High School down in Chandler, Arizona, that added an OU offer yesterday. And if you look at his offer sheet, Oklahoma is easily the best offer he has. But beyond that, he is the twin brother of another OU offer in the 2026 class, that being high 3-star linebacker Bo Jandro, who is a bit more of a prospect than Nico. But there are now 6 schools that have offered both of them together, Oklahoma is easily the most prestigious of those 6 schools. So I know you were looking at the tape earlier on Braxton Lindsey and on the Jandro brothers. What is to like, in your opinion, with those guys?
Let's start with what there is questions for.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll start there, and the question is with Braxton Lindsey. Now, you would think he's going to have to be a guy who's rushing the passer standing up. There's limited tape with him putting his hand in the ground. The problem I see with that is he's a little bit slight to be an everyday edge rusher. But there's no tape of him being an off-ball linebacker or a traditional inside linebacker, let's say that. Mm-hmm. So while I think he's a great player, I think his ceiling is as a Nick Benito type of edge rusher, standing up. But when I look at his skill set, Oklahoma doesn't really do that. You look at their 2 edge rushers from a year ago, R. Mason Thomas, usually with his hand in the ground.
Yep.
Ethan Downs, hand in the ground. Caden Woolard, hand in the ground. And that's not where Lindsey excels, nor has he played. So I think there's a scheme discrepancy there. With the Jandros, I love them. I love both of them. Nico, there's limited tape with him in coverage, even though I'm pretty sure he's fine as a coverage safety. That's a missile. That dude is a missile.
Yes, he is.
And he is looking to take somebody's head off. And I love how he plays the run. When I watched him, I'm like, okay, cool. This is your next Robert Spears Jennings. When I watched him play, with mixing a little Michael Boganowski, with the way that he loves to just attack people. Bo, it's interesting to me, and here's my question to you. This is why I saved Bo for last. Does he seems like a project to you? Because I think this is a guy who has instincts, and I think he has the sideline-to-sideline speed. Mm-hmm. He's so smart when he's spying quarterbacks, too. He seems like a guy who, with his intangibles upstairs, could contribute by his sophomore year. So why I'm interested to see why you think he's a prospect. He's more of a project. Let me phrase it that way. More of a project than his brother.
No, I didn't say that. It was actually Nico that I said. I'm sorry. Bo is more of a prospect than Nico in the sense that he has a lot more offers.
Okay,
Bo has been more heavily recruited than Nico has.
Okay, I think you meant to say prospect. I think you said project.
Did I say project?
I think you said project.
I might just be an idiot, folks.
You're good.
We're off to a rocky start, 7 minutes in here.
By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks to all of you that have wished me happy birthday on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. I don't know how all of you knew that. I don't know if maybe like Plank mentioned it earlier. I try to keep that pretty low-key, but apparently a lot of you knew about it. So thank you for your well wishes on this, my birthday. But to circle back around on a couple of things that you mentioned, Braxton Lindsey's OU offer came from Nate Dreiling, whose title, of course, is inside linebackers coach. And that's what they see Lindsey as. He's super helpful because I think he understands that he is a very versatile athlete that could play a ton of different roles at the next level because of his combination of size and athleticism. And so whenever he posts a new offer, he will mention what position the school that offered him at.
Yes.
And Oklahoma wants him at linebacker. There are schools that have offered him at tight end. There are schools that have offered him as an edge rusher. And there are schools that have offered him as a pure athlete. Oklahoma wants him at linebacker. Dreiling has had a relationship with Lindsey dating back to his very brief time at Arkansas State. That's initially when Lindsey first came onto his radar. But I love the idea of a big, jumbo, fast athlete, just an ideal specimen, if you will, on the football field, playing an off-ball linebacker role, because I think as with any linebacker coming into Brent Venable's scheme, it's going to be a little bit of a blank canvas vibe. Certainly a guy like Jaron Kanik, who didn't play any linebacker in high school, is going to have a steeper learning curve than a guy like Kip Lewis, who linebacker was all he played. But as with any linebacker in the system, it's going to take time to learn all of the responsibilities that come with the spot, and I think that's why you've seen so few underclassmen really make their mark, and why it's so remarkable when they do early on in their college career. For instance, Kip Lewis, he was buried on that depth chart as a true freshman. Redshirted, Didn't do a whole lot the first third of his sophomore year, as I recall. Had a couple moments in non-conference play where you're like, all right, that's something there. But right around that mid-season mark, man, he turned the corner and eventually took Jaren Gannick's starting spot. But outside of him, man, what you've seen at that position under Brent Venables is guys with a ton of collegiate experience and guys that are mature, guys that have been in the system multiple years. Kobe McKenzie was a really highly regarded prospect. OU loved being able to land him and flip him from Texas when they were able to pull that off back in December of 21. But Kobe McKenzie didn't really play a whole heck of a lot at Oklahoma until this past season, his redshirt sophomore year. And so with Lindsey, yes, there's going to be a transition period because he'd probably be more comfortable as an edge rusher than an off-ball linebacker. But I do think his skill set fits that off-ball linebacker role nicely, and he will be able to develop at his own pace, you would imagine. Now, what is interesting about Nico Jandro is that he is the very first prospect that has ever been offered by Wes Goodwin on behalf of Oklahoma.
That would be correct.
It was Wes Goodwin
Yes.
that offered Nico Jandro. So what does that tell you, Grayson, about where OU wants him?
Now, why do they see Nico Jandro as a linebacker?
A cheetah. They see him as a cheetah.
Okay, good. Okay, because I know Wes Goodwin has a linebacker background.
Yep.
When I watch Nico Jandro, this screams cheetah to me.
Bingo.
6'2", 195, good in coverage, will appear one place at one time and then is over here across the field the next time.
I have mentioned OUinsider.com poster Brand 1028 before on these airwaves. He knows his stuff. Occasionally, he'll just proactively post his own film evaluations on the board and looking at some of these prospects. And he posted a thread last night in which he evaluated both Bo and Nico, and the guy that he compared Nico to was Kendall Dolby, which makes it like Bo is bigger physically than Nico. Nico's listed at 6'1". That might be a little generous, but he's listed at 6'1". But you said it, man. He's a missile. Flies to the ball. He plays safety right now, so he comes from that secondary discipline. And I think in many ways, he's kind of the ideal guy that you want filling that role long-term at Cheetah. Somebody with defensive back size and linebacker physicality.
Yes.
And that's what enabled Kendall Dolby to shoot onto the scene and become Oklahoma's Cheetah. When he came in, the expectation was he was either going to play outside corner, which he did a little bit in 2023, or he was going to be a safety. But they decided to try him out at that Cheetah role, and he was a perfect fit for it because he has the defensive back physique and the defensive back speed, but he has a linebacker's physicality.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the ideal person for that role is going to be, especially in the year 2025, is going to be somebody with a defensive back background. Because you don't want to play too many linebackers on the field in this day and age unless you just got freakishly fast linebackers.
Mm-hmm. Which Oklahoma is fortunate to have a few of those. Samuel Masigo, most notably.
Yes.
Samuel Masigo was a guy that had a ton of Power 4 offers as a wide receiver. So he can get around.
But even he kind of struggled in coverage this year when he was on the field. So if you can get an extra guy who has that aptitude in coverage, with the way that college offenses are run these days, that makes you a lot more formidable against those sorts of offenses.
Gunny of Stutzman Army on the text line says, I used to be a superb party specimen, fellas. I have no doubt, Gunny.
You know, one of the funniest things about Gunny is that, like, he will just completely disregard everything we're saying and then just come up with, like, random stuff like that. It's hilarious.
Mississippi Pot Roast says, so Nate Dreiling has put out more offers in the first 2 weeks on the job than Zach Alley did in the year he was here. Interesting. Is that true? I don't think that's true. I mean, offhand, I can think of, two prospects that Dreiling has offered thus far. C.J. Santa, and then, of course, yesterday, Braxton Lindsey. Has there been anybody else? Off the top of my head, I can think of two prospects that Zach Alley offered, and I know they weren't the only two. Cooper Witten, Jason's kid, and Caleb Burns. So, good thought, Mississippi Pot Roast. I don't think it's actually true, though.
He never landed a recruit, but that never meant he didn't offer
Correct.
anybody.
He did recruit. Not terribly successfully, but he did recruit. Sooner Shane in Springfield says Kobe will be all SEC this year. Mark my words. All right, Sooner Shane.
Okay.
You can be the first to say, or I'm sorry, you can say that you were the first to say it, if indeed that does come to fruition. We'll make note of that. We'll give you credit if and when it happens. But with the Jandros, circling back to them, they are scheduled for a visit to Oklahoma. Details on that over at ouinsider.com. But they're going to come up and visit in the spring. Again, I would expect Braxton Lindsey back in the spring at some point. And you'd think that it won't be long before those three all schedule their official visits to OU. I threw in a future cast for Braxton Lindsey last night, just as somebody that has familiarity with OU, having been on campus before. The sole mission, from what I'm told, really speaks to them. And it was always really a matter of when he got the offer as to when Oklahoma was really going to become the major focus in Lindsey's recruitment. And I think they have become that now that he does have the offer from Dreiling and the Sooners. So we'll be watching that one closely in the weeks ahead. And when the Jandros get up to campus, that'll be worth monitoring as well. It'll also be interesting to see if Oregon decides to offer Nico, if they feel nudged by Oklahoma to go ahead and go for the package deal. Because, I mean, they're identical twins. Obviously, they would like to play together at the
They will
collegiate level.
most likely play together.
Yes. Oregon has offered Bo. They have not offered Nico. Oklahoma, again, is the first big-time school to offer both of these guys, which should give them more than a leg to stand on when it comes decision time for the two of them. So, the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, once again, is 405-651-3439. So much to dig into from Under Armour Next yesterday down in Dallas. We will do that on the other side. Keep it right here on Locked In. We're talking Sooner football and Crootin with you till 3 p.m. right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
What's up, Sooner fans? This is all-conference safety Billy Bowman, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Connect directly, bid confidently. At Purple Wave Auction, transparency is key. With no reserves and no hidden surprises, you're connected directly to sellers so you can inspect and bid on quality equipment with confidence. Whether you're looking for ag, construction, or fleet equipment, we're here to ensure a clear, hassle-free experience. Register today at purplewave.com and start bidding with peace of mind. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
As Oklahoma grows, we want to grow with it, and serving part-time in the Oklahoma Army National Guard is perfect for that. Our service provides money for school, so we can be ready for a new career or improve our current one. We learn valuable teamwork skills and get hands-on with some of the latest tech. And we also help the communities we live in recover whenever they are in need. Our service is helping to keep Oklahoma and ourselves moving forward. Learn more at nationalguard.com/OK.
Sponsored by the Oklahoma Army National Guard. Aired by the Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The all-new Eskridge Honda is here, right in time for the new year. Our new building is awesome, just like these deals. Right now, get new 2024 Honda Ridgelines, just $349 per month. Come in today to get the best deals all month long. Now conveniently located off I-35 and 89. Just look for the blue tents on the roof. Online at eskridgehonda.com.
2024 Honda Ridgeline, $349 per month, 3-year, 10,000-mile lease, $49.99 plus TTNL. First month's payment due at signing. Ends 2/28/25.
Life is full of big moments, and at OU Federal Credit Union, they are happy to help you make those moments happen. Thinking of buying a home? OUFCU offers mortgage loans with competitive rates and flexible terms. If you already own a home, their home equity loans can help you make those much-needed renovations or pay off high-interest debt. But it's not about the loans, it's about the people. Ready to make the next step toward your dreams? Visit OU Federal Credit Union today. Your home sweet loan is just around the corner. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by NCUA.
Landmark Fine Homes is a custom home builder in Oklahoma City. Our commitment is to build energy-efficient, custom-quality crafted homes around the metro OKC area. If you're looking to build your first home or last, Landmark Fine Homes is the builder for you. We have many floor plans to choose from, or bring us one that you already have. We have communities throughout the metro, or we will build on your lot. Call 405-347-5991 and let Landmark Fine Homes help turn your dreams into a reality.
Here at The Ref, we know football, and we talk football every single day. But it wouldn't be possible without the great people at Wade Electric, because while we know football, we trust Wade Electric for all of our electrical needs. Anytime we need electrical work done at our station, we call Wade Electric. They've been out to install new exterior lighting, convert interior lighting to LED, update devices, and install new power where needed. Call them today at 405-329-1940. Wade Electric, the electrical experts.
Stand Up to Cancer asked leading cancer researchers to speak about why they do their work.
Two words come to mind for me. One is responsibility, the other is purpose.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
Cancer research saves lives.
So please, help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
Hi, this is Martina McBride. With online news, social media, and texting available 24/7, the world seems to be spinning faster and faster every day. And it can be overwhelming. Sometimes we just need to unplug and take a break from our electronic devices. It can help reduce stress and allow us to reflect on the things that are really important in our lives.
This message brought to you courtesy of the United States Air Force.
It is Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Grayson, Singleton in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. Interacting with all of you via the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. 651-3439 is the text line where many of you have chimed in already and no doubt will continue to as we unwind here on this Monday. Now, Grayson, I mentioned it at the top. We're just now getting to it, but I got to spend some time at one of the most loaded camps I've ever been to yesterday down there in Dallas at Under Armour Next. I forgot how many players I had on my watch list going in. It was something like 30, maybe 40 players. I was like, okay, got to keep an eye on this guy.
Jeez.
It gets very, very difficult when you have multiple position groups repping at once on multiple ends of the field. But needless to say, what that means is, at least locally, in this class of 2026 and the class of 2027, Oklahoma's in the mix and in play for a ton of the top prospects in the nation. And let's start with the 2026 class. First, want to get to some guys that really, really stood out for their individual performances. A1 on the list for me, well, A1 and A2, I suppose. Dog, Mason James is really good. And yes, he's impressive when you see him on a Friday night for the Norman North Timberwolves. It's all the more impressive, man, when he is out there against some of the best defensive backs in the Mid-South, cooking them with ease. I mean, it is effortless, the manner in which he creates separation. So quick off the line, great releases, change of direction ability is off the charts, man. One of my favorite moments of the entire afternoon was when, and keep in mind, he's lined up against, I forget which one it was, but they only invite legit FBS prospects to the Under Armour camp.
Yeah.
So he's lined up against one of these guys. Goes outside release, gets him running full speed. Stops on a dime, breaks off a comeback route. Dude, the defender fell over. Stopped so quick, turned around, ball was right there. I think it was Payton Houston that threw him the ball. The defender tripped over his own feet and fell over.
It's pretty good.
The kid,
I'll
stand on this. Mason James, to me, is a top 100 player in the country. Right now, the recruiting services across the board have him somewhere in the 150 to 250 range. To me, he's a top 100 player in the country.
You think his height has something to do with that? Because I think he's like 5'10", 175.
He's 5'11". And no, I don't think so. You look at some of the receivers that occupy the upper echelon of the rankings every single year. Yeah, okay, you're going to get some trees Like, you're going to get a Teteroa McMillan every now and again that's 6'4", 6'5", and runs like he's 5'10". Emmanuel Choice is a great example of a dude that is plus size when it comes to height, but moves like a much smaller receiver. But there's especially in this era of football, a guy like Mason James is what a ton of these modern offenses are looking for. Exactly what they're looking for. Somebody that, he's not small. 5'11" by wide receiver standards is not small. It's not large, but it's not small. Somebody that can run every single route on the route tree and just can create separation. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? As a wide receiver, the biggest thing, especially if you have a capable quarterback in your offense, is just create separation from your defender. Give the quarterback a wider target area with which he can deliver a catchable ball. And Mason James does that so well.
So where do you think the discrepancy is between you and some of the other people who are ranking?
I live in the state of Oklahoma.
Fair enough.
I've gotten to see Mason James in person a lot more than those other folks have. I think Mason James is going to get his due. Let's not get it twisted. I think he will be a top 100 player in the nation by the end of the cycle. It's just taking a little bit longer because he happens to play high school football in the state of Oklahoma. I think if Elijah Thomas had more eyes on him, Elijah Thomas would have been a top 100 guy by the end of it. But I think he only popped out to maybe 2 camps in his entire high school career. And even so, I think he closed the cycle as the number 132 player nationally. If he shows out to a couple more camps, gets some more scouting personnel, seeing him up close and in person, I have no doubt he would have been a top 100 player in the nation. So, and I think the same exists for Mason James. And Mason James, man, he competes. He'll show up to everything. 7-on-7 events, elite camps, school camps. He did a whole bunch of school camps last summer. And he'll ball out every single time. He's inevitably one of the best players at any event he participates in. Love the potential that he brings to the table as a future collegian, and he is going to take his official visit to Oklahoma.
Champ U Barbecue.
For the Champ U Barbecue. Yep. June 20th through the 22nd. That leaves you feeling pretty good about the Sooners' chances, if you weren't already feeling good. Alger Miles was, without question, one of the most impressive overall players that was there yesterday. You could make a case. And Mason James and Alger Miles, I think, both had a case as wide receiver MVP, which ultimately went to Booby Feaster, who is a stud and just reclassified to the 2026 cycle. I don't have beef with that selection. But Mason James had a case. Alger Miles had a case too, man. And this is where I'm like, man, Emmett Jones really is so dang good at his job. Because when he first offered Alger Miles, after his sophomore season, looking at the tape, I didn't entirely see the vision. It's like, really? Like, especially since you coach at Oklahoma, Emmett, like, you don't need to go that early on a guy that could be an OU caliber player, or he could not be. Like, he might develop, he might not. At that point, I didn't think Alger Miles was OU good. But then junior year rolls around. And his junior tape was fantastic. Everything about it, all the way down to blocking. He's an exceptional blocker. Everything about his junior tape was highly impressive. But I saw the best version of Alger Miles that I've seen yet yesterday against a really, really talented crop of defensive backs. He reminds me, in terms of frame and athleticism, he reminds me of Zion Kearney, who obviously was a guy that flirted with top 100 status in the 2024 cycle. Emmett Jones made him a priority from the time he touched down at Oklahoma and ultimately landed his commitment over a whole bunch of P4 schools that were chasing his services. You've seen it a little bit with Zion Kearney. You haven't seen it a whole lot yet, so I don't know if many have necessarily the adequate frame of reference to understand how high that praise is when I say Alger Miles reminds me of Zion Kearney, but he's a very, very impressive receiver.
No, yeah. And you were talking about those Teteroa and McMillan types. He's 6'2", 200.
Yep.
as a junior. So God knows what he's going to be when he gets on campus if OU is able to reel him in. But he's a big physical guy. And, you know, Mason James' size makes him your quintessential guy in terms of being able to run all over the field, run every route in the route tree and whatnot. You can do gadget stuff with him too. You can't throw him a jump ball in the red zone, but you can this guy. You can this guy. And I love having to balance out with a receiver class. If you can balance out, give us a big body, give us a gadget guy, give us a guy. These are multiple guys who can be your X receiver, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This is no shade to Mason James in any stretch of the imagination.
And I see Mason James as like the prototypical Z receiver, right?
I agree.
That to me is Mason James.
Yes. And you can slide Alger Miles as your X. That's a perfect pairing if you bring that in.
And I mentioned this on OUinsider.com last night. I will repeat it. I'm going to go on record with this prediction. I think Mason James and Alger Miles are both going to commit to Oklahoma at the Champ U barbecue. No sooner, no later. I think that is when they will officially turn in their chips and lock it in with the Sooners. That's my expectation. We'll see if I'm right or not.
We'll see.
But that's the vibe I get, man, is like all these guys, I say all of them, both of these guys want to be intentional with the recruiting process, say that they milked it for all it was worth, got everything they needed to get out of it. But I think most understand, and I think it's been pretty clear for some time now, where those two guys' hearts are at. I'm not to say that can't change, but unless it does change, I think those guys are going to take the full slate of official visits. OU is going to get the last shot at them because that June 20th to 22nd official visit weekend is the last weekend that kids can schedule OVs before the July dead period, or end of June, early July, mid-July dead period. I think they're going to simply get to the end of the process and at that point lock it in with Oklahoma. And until then, it's going to be about, can anybody change their minds? Can any school give Alger Miles and Mason James adequate reason to back off of Oklahoma? Because I think if you gave them truth serum right now, you'd probably learn that that is the plan that's bouncing around their heads. Let me take all these visits. Let me see what there is to see. But I like Oklahoma. That's where I want to be. That's where I'm going to commit at the Champ U barbecue. A 405 listener says, you're not worried about Tech dropping a double Eagle bag on Miles and him never even visiting OU? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I wasn't worried till you said that. No, I'm like, well, okay, that could happen.
I mean, to that point, don't let SMU get involved either.
And they are involved.
Oh, there you go.
They are involved with Alger Miles. That's an interesting that you bring that up because as I think about it, I'm like, well, the 4 other schools that Alger Miles is taking official visits to, and to be clear, I have never gotten the impression, and I know that kid very well at this point, I have never gotten the impression that he is a money guy. But the 4 schools that he's OVing to, confirmed right now besides Oklahoma, SMU, hella money there.
Mm-hmm.
USC, they will spend and spend big.
And it's LA.
Texas Tech, Double Eagle Energy, as that texter mentioned, and Kansas, which you don't think of as a bag school.
They'll drop a ton.
But you look at what they've done in the 2026 class to this point. They have the overwhelming majority of actual FBS prospects in the state of Kansas committed right now. And the reason why is because they have started to open up the checkbook.
How much do you think they paid for Jaden Nickens to get there? I mean, you're talking about a basketball and a football superstar.
Yeah, well,
he didn't come cheap.
Pay him a basketball salary, pay him a football salary, right? Yeah, that was probably a pretty pricey one.
Just a little bit. JW Sooner on the text line. What happens with OU and my favorite name in this class, Booby Feaster?
Well, I think that is entirely contingent upon what happens with Payton Houston and when it happens. And we can dig into Payton Houston more on the other side. But Booby Feaster is a Louisiana native. He grew up playing ball with Payton Houston, who still lives in Louisiana. in Shreveport, more specifically. At this point, I believe, and I think many believe, the two schools that are best positioned for our good friend Booby Feaster are LSU and Texas. Where Oklahoma could make some noise there is if they were to get an early commitment from Payton Houston. Now, the runway is shorter now that Feaster has reclassified from 2027 to 2026. Houston is and will be a class of 2027 prospect. So you're going to have to get him committed early if you want to have a shot with Feaster, but that would give you a shot with Feaster. However, if you can't convince him to lock it down, or, God forbid, the exact inverse happens and Feaster decides to commit somewhere like Texas and start recruiting Houston to come with him, then you might be up a creek. But if Oklahoma can lock down Payton Houston early on, I'm talking like you could probably got to get the wheels turning on that next month when Houston gets to campus. Then you give yourself a shot with Booby Feaster. And Emmett Jones did offer Feaster all the way back before his freshman year at DeSoto. I think it's the earliest offer that Emmett Jones has ever made. So there's a relationship there. There's interest there. OU was in Booby Feaster's top 12. I don't think they get an official visit right now, absent a commitment from Houston, but that could be what helps swing things, not necessarily in OU's favor, but helps sway his interests back to Oklahoma. Because I think there was a lot of interest there very early on in his recruitment, but for the last several months it's been LSU and it's been Texas. So that's where things stand. Let's 580 says, I've been called Booby Feaster a time or two. I'm sure you have, 580 Nate. I'm sure you have. Let's hit a break. Let's hit the text line on the other side, 405-651-3439. Want to dive into a few more prospects that I got to see yesterday, one of whom was Payton Houston. Spoiler alert, he was awesome yesterday. So, much to discuss on the other side with our final segment of Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Stay right here.
This is your home for Sooner fans. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Ever wonder why someone would leave the roads they know for places they don't? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
Imagine one step, and suddenly a fall turns into a fracture. For many, osteoporosis is a hidden threat, weakening bones silently until it's too late. At the Ortho Central Bone Health Clinic, we believe in personalized care to keep bones strong and resilient. Led by advanced practitioner Amanda Boyd, our team specializes in detection and personalized treatment plans, from bone density testing to strengthening bones after a fracture. Take charge of your bone health today. Call Ortho Central's Bone Health Clinic and let's build better bones together.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
From the gridiron to the hardwood to the diamond, no one covers the Sooners like we do. If it's Sooner Sports, we have you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is the home of Sooner fans.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Heyday Family Entertainment Center in Norman is a great place for exciting group events.
with 2 floors of fabulous fun. Bowling, mini golf, laser tag, arcade games, ropes course, and more. Plus 2 fully stocked bars and a delicious full-service food menu. Heyday in Norman is perfect for groups of up to 1,000 people. You'll be amazed at everything Heyday has to offer. Call Connie for a free tour at 405-310-3500 or visit heydayfun.com. Let's meet at Heyday.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers/Border Patrol.
Speaking of technology, did you know that RK Black is an authorized dealer for Kyocera copiers? And the Kyocera copiers aren't just copiers. They're smart devices that can scan, print, fax, and email your documents with ease and security. Even better, they're backed by RK Black's award-winning service team that is built on nearly 70 years of taking great care of our clients. Whether you need a desktop printer or a multifunction copier, RK Black has the right product for you. Let's get the conversation started. Give us a call at 943-9800 or visit us at rkblack.com.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
One final segment here before we wrap it up and hand it off to the Rush fellas, that being Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. But for now, Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton talking OU football and crootin with you here on Locked In. Weigh in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line if you feel so inclined, 405-651-3439. We have a super chat on YouTube. Alan M. gave us $10. Thank you, Alan. We appreciate you immensely. He asks, what 5-star does Oklahoma stand the best chance with? Happy birthday, Thune. Thank you, Alan. During the break, I looked through, and I use the 24/7 Sports Composite generally because I think it's the best way to just kind of cull all of the industry's opinions of prospects into one metric. So if you're looking for the consensus opinion, if you will, the 24/7 Sports Composite is probably the way to go. Now, there are 28 5-stars in the 2026 cycle right now, per the 24/7 Sports Composite. I can tell you who Oklahoma has the best chance with because I think it's the only one they have a chance with. Brandon Arrington, the 5-star athlete from Mission Viejo, California. He is the number 11 player in the country for us at Rivals, I do believe. Anyway, a guy that across the board is regarded as a 5-star talent. He's a 2-sport dude who's going to run track in high school. He's 6'2", so plus size for a defensive back. There are schools that want him at wide receiver as well, but OU, for instance, is recruiting him as a cornerback, and he wants to be a sprinter at the collegiate level as well. He's an exceptional athletic specimen. He is visiting Oklahoma on March 1st. So the Sooners will get him back on campus. They had him on campus last July. I can't recall whether he made it down for a game or not. I don't think he did, but I could be wrong. My memory could be deceiving me. They're going to have a shot with Brandon Arrington. The other 27 5-stars in the 24/7 Sports Composite, Grayson, Oklahoma has offered some of them. They're technically in the picture for some of them. I don't know if there's another 5-star from that group that'll take an official visit to Oklahoma, if I'm being completely transparent.
I just looked at On3. Go ahead and finish that.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I guess if you're content with one 5-star, then and you just care about what the rankings say right now, then Brandon Arrington's your best shot. But obviously the rankings are going to change, and the Sooners are going to have the chance to backdoor a 5-star or two. And what I mean by that is a great example of this is PJ Adibawara back in the 2023 class. PJ was a backdoor 5-star. When Oklahoma offered PJ, he was unranked. When he first visited Oklahoma, he was a 3-star. When he committed to Oklahoma, he was a 4-star. By the end of the cycle, and only at the end after a very strong performance at the Under Armour All-American game in Orlando, did he add the 5th star. So PJ was a guy that at the time he committed to Oklahoma was not yet a 5-star but became one. That possibility is on the table for some of the guys that Oklahoma is recruiting right now in the 2026 cycle. I think it's on the table for several of the kids that they're recruiting. It's most conspicuously on the table for a kid that I don't think at this point is going to end up at Oklahoma in Felix Ojo, but OU may get an official visit from him. Texas and Ohio State, the two schools that are kind of setting the tone for him for the time being, but Oklahoma cracked the top 8. They were one of his early offers. He's been up to campus several times, and he was amazing yesterday. Easily the MVP. I mean, there's really no doubt in anyone's mind. And, you know, I'm standing there with colleagues and friends from all 3 major recruiting services, and there was not a dissenting opinion in naming Felix Ojo the MVP. He is exactly what you want him to look like. 6'7", probably about 285, 290, so good frame, but still some room to add weight. Mobile. He's got long arms, quick feet. The complete package. The type of guy that unless something or someone gets in his way is going to be a top 10 draft pick in 4 or 5 years. Even so, I don't think Oklahoma has much of a shot right now in that race unless something changes pretty drastically. It feels like that's going to come down to a bag war between Texas and Ohio State. But that's an example of a kid that Oklahoma is technically in the picture for that isn't a 5-star right now, but I promise you, I will promise you, Felix Ojo is a 5-star. And it will not take till the end of the cycle for him. He'll be a 5-star by April. Gunny of Stutzman always says, backdoor 5-star, don't Urban Dictionary that term. Thanks, Gunny. I wasn't planning on it. I will say this, though. Felix Ojo was the unquestioned MVP yesterday, Grayson, but the guy that I think ran him a close second was Payton Houston. At this point, Oklahoma's lone quarterback target in the 2027 cycle. Trey Taylor was OU's only other offer in the 27 class at that position. He recently released a top 5 that did not include Oklahoma. And so, here we are. Payton Houston is for the moment the Lone Ranger in the 2027 class, and that kid is dynamite. Have you had the chance to watch his film yet?
I need to watch it again, but yes.
He is so far advanced, so much further advanced than you would expect of a 16-year-old. And he's not like a kid that, you know, skipped a grade or got held back or something like that, where he's a sophomore in high school, but he's like about to turn 18. No, he is exactly how old he should be for his grade. He's a 16-year-old sophomore in high school. He's probably the most developed passer that I have seen at that age ever. And obviously there are folks that have done this job far longer than I have that they may not share that opinion. There may be guys that they've seen in the past that could hold a candle to Payton Houston in this regard. But the only one that really comes close for me is Dylan Raiola. I got to see Dylan Raiola as a sophomore in high school, and he was the real deal. He wound up being the number 1 prospect in the nation, right? So if that's the kind of company that you're keeping, if you're Payton Houston, what does that say about your trajectory? And I think the super intriguing thing about Houston, who he is he's not just trying to pick a school, Grayson. He's trying to bring the cavalry with him. Mm-hmm. So he goes to events like these. He's recruiting everybody. He wants to make it known, hey, I want to play with you. I don't know where yet, but I want to play with you. I just completely lost my train of thought. I have no idea where I was going to pivot. Oh, no, I do. Quebeck, 4-star linebacker out of Carthage, Texas. I reported yesterday on OUinsider.com, and I'll mention it here. He's the number 246 prospect in the nation, according to Rivals. And Carthage, Texas, obviously some familiarity there. Kip Lewis came from Carthage. Quebeck has a bunch of offers, upwards of 24 at this point. He has yet to visit Oklahoma, and that's a very recent offer. In fact, I think that one might have actually come from Nate Dreiling. It was either Dreiling or Skalski. Or it might have come directly from Brent Venables, possibly. But he's going to visit Oklahoma for the first time on March 8th. What do you think of him as a prospect, fitting into this linebacker picture alongside the likes of guys like Bo Jandro and Braxton Lindsey and Sincere Johnson from Ohio?
Very comfortable in open field in coverage. And I don't think we talk about this enough when it comes to linebackers. You look at a guy like Kip Lewis, the fact that he was the one with the pick sixes this year against Auburn and Alabama, ironically, is no accident. He's comfortable going out there. And I see the same thing with Quebeck here. He's very comfortable dropping into coverage, getting depth in that kind of Tampa 2 defense where the linebackers get deeper than in a traditional cover 2. And he's fast. Mm-hmm. He's really, really fast. But also, here's what I also like about it, which I didn't see from Braxton Lindsey, what we talked about in the first segment. He can line up all over the place. He lines up at traditional inside linebacker, so he can play off ball. He can play on the line of scrimmage. So you've got that versatility there, given with his comfort level of dropping into coverage. He's a very intriguing prospect. I think he does the technical things well, and he backs it up with the athleticism too. So I think that would be a very nice get. Maybe somebody, I don't like the linebacker background for this, but somebody you could make a cheetah, potentially. But I see him more as a linebacker.
I do too, and I think he's a guy that could give you snaps at cheetah, kind of like a Lewis Carter, right?
Yes.
Where Lewis Carter, he could play, and he did play cheetah a little bit, but primarily he was an inside linebacker during his time at Oklahoma. Everybody's making their Canada jokes. Spence and Tulsa, great fishing up in Quebeck. Sooner Soldier asked, is he from Canada? Evan from Blanchard said, Quebeck, no thanks until they're the 51st state. That's not his full name. His full name is DeQueeves. DeQueeves Beck, but he goes by Quee.
DeQueeves.
So. Yep.
That's a new one.
It is. It is certainly. I've never seen that name before, but he goes by Quee. Quebeck. So Texas A&M, SMU, that's looking like the primary comp for Oklahoma. He's actually going to take an official visit to Oklahoma State, as a matter of fact. So they're in the picture as well. The linebacker board is becoming pretty robust, just based on the guys that we have already talked about on this show. Wes Goodwin and Nate Dreiling in tandem, really expanding the board for Oklahoma at that position, as they dang well should. And a couple other players I want to bring up from yesterday, two guys that both recently visited Oklahoma. One that I actually favor Oklahoma for, one that I'm not entirely sold on yet, but OU certainly in the mix for an official visit. Kevin Ford Jr., the edge rusher from Duncanville. OU lean. OU lean. I don't know if he winds up committing to Oklahoma just yet, but that's an OU lean, absolutely. And that was very clear yesterday in the conversations that he had with pretty much everybody at the Under Armour event. Nobody walked away with any impression other than, yeah, Kevin Ford's lean in Oklahoma. And then Donovan Webb, 4-star defensive back from Panther Creek down in Frisco. From what I understand, he's pretty high on Brandon Hall's safety board, and he was the defensive back MVP yesterday. So he had the strongest day of any of the defensive backs that were in the mix.
Damn good player.
He visited January 25th. What do you like about him?
What is there not to like about him? I mean, the same with Kevin Ford. There's no need to break down Kevin Ford. You're gonna get
he just gets after it.
Yeah. He's just better than everybody. Webb, on the other hand, great coverage safety. You don't feel like you're going to have a mismatch if he's in man coverage. Like, you feel like with some safeties, you might be in a matchup disadvantage.
Sure.
If you have a safety isolated on a wide receiver. I don't get that here. By the way, he might be your next punt returner, too, because he's really damn good at that. He's really good at that.
I heard that one before. That's what these goons told me about Peyton Bowen. They all told me Payton Bones
Okay,
was gonna be a
but
really
in,
good punt returner at the University of Oklahoma, and I ain't seen it yet.
But in fairness, okay, Steely Jr., Billy Bowman wasn't bad at returning punts. He got hurt doing it.
He did get hurt doing it.
But he wasn't terrible at it. Anyway, back to Webb here. I know we're running short of time. But another physical player, not as much of a missile as Nico Jandro is, but he's still very technical with his tackling. He can play the run. He's really, really good in pass coverage. He's your typical free safety. He's going to be a 3-year free safety starter. And you know what I like about him most? We talk a lot about these safeties that go take people's heads off. He takes the ball away. I love a ball-hawked safety that wants to go take the ball away, good at forcing fumbles, and that can earn you extra possessions.
In the words of Alex Grinch, turnovers equal victory.
You know what?
And that is what I will leave you with on this Monday, folks.
Oh, no.
Been a fun hour. Here with you on Locked In. The Rush is coming up next. Tyler and Teddy are going to take it away on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Grayson and I will see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.